Hello and welcome back to MDG Media. This is round 2 front 9 FPO lead card coverage of the 2025 Lätt Open, an exciting course with a stacked field and some incredible talent that we are bringing you here today. I'm Connor Wodd, and with me for this round 2 coverage, Mr. Elias Luukkonen.
What's up, Connor? What's up, viewers? Nice to be here once again for some FPO coverage this time. Round 2, beautiful course, and we saw some great action in round 1, specifically from the younger portion of the field.
Certainly some breakout talent here, a lot of local support for them as well, and some of the OGs of the FPO field right here. Kristin Lätt coming in as the highest rated player of the tournament. As a result, she is considered the favorite to win, but as we mentioned, there's some up-and-comers who are giving her the pressure. One of them seen here, Elias.
Yes, Julia Forsch, just 13 years in age, young talent. I think last week we called her potential future GOAT. I think statement still holds up.
Joining them, Sonja Laine from Finland. She has some breakout performances here and there, maybe not seen as often, but certainly talented enough, and we see her on the big stage.
And the lefty on the card, Anniken, Steen. Very talented player, good with the angles, good putting on her best days, actually great putting on her best days. Interesting to see how she attacks the course from a different side than the rest of the players, starting on a very difficult par 3. Hole number 1, 145 meters, slight left to right slope throughout the entire fairway, but the most prominent feature being the OB on the left and right side. If you're outside of the logs, you're gonna be OB. Fairway is quite wide, so if you try to play it safe for the par, just to leave yourself a short approach for the par, that's gonna be manageable. But if you get a little bit aggressive here, this hole can easily catch you off guard, especially with the strong left to right wind today we had.
First up on the tee, sponsored by Latitude 64 from Estonia. Let's welcome Kristin Lätt.
The priority here on hole 1 to get an inbounds shot, given that significant distance. The 3 is absolutely a comfortable score, and hanging it out over the right side. She needs the late stability, but the wind preventing it from coming back with any reasonable height.
Box, sponsored by Discraft from Sweden. Let's welcome Julia Forsch.
The local support is strong for this player, and deservedly so. We saw her last year with the Eagle McMahon practice round on this very course. You can find that on MDG Media. Starting off the round, unfortunately, with too unstable of a disc in this wind.
Next to the tee, representing Finland, welcome Sonja Laine.
Sonja carried by, I believe, her sister Heidi Laine. Both of them very strong players, and you see her getting the wind read of the first 2, that ripping left to right. She tries to compensate, just hugging the log. She finds herself inbounds, although a little bit sweaty during the flight. She's done well.
Sponsored by Sigurd Bags, representing Norway, welcome Anniken, Steen.
So Anniken, she's gonna use the same direction of spin as the rest of the players, trying to fight that wind with an overstable forehand. I like the play here. While it does leave a longer approach, she's pretty much guaranteed to be in bounds every time, and on a hole that wasn't birdied a single time in this round, par is gonna be a great score.
Yes, with FPO and MPO playing on the same tee pad, same par here on hole 1. Plays very difficult. Julia flirting with the right side again. Fading back towards the basket, but not quite enough to maintain the inbounds position.
I think
Rough start.
she probably crossed up there, right?
I think she hit one of those late trees inbounds and fell back out. Anniken here playing that double overstable shot, the second one into play just outside bullseye. She'll be left with 5 meters to the basket. Discussing now Kristin's lie. She's probably about 50 from the pin, maybe 60, slightly uphill from the center of the fairway.
Yeah, good approximation there. Good approach. If you saw the green stake just in front of Kristin's lie, that is the 50-meter stake. If you spot that on another hole on this course, you know that that's 50 meters away from the basket. Nice feature that the Ale Disc Golf Center offers. And Sonja there, back and really beautiful line actually. I'm gonna be parked for par.
We see now what Julia is left with. Obligated to run it given the 2 OB strokes. She is trying to mitigate the damage now and gives it a healthy bid. Anniken to secure her par.
Very solid. I'd say putting definitely being the strength of Anniken. Very smooth with that nose up spin putt. And gonna be interesting how the different players adjust to the strong wind we have today, especially on the putting green. Baskets we're playing to the Discraft Chainstar Pros are very heavy on the chains. So if you like to, you can putt pretty much as hard as you want. And spit outs are unlikely. As we see a spread of scores ranging from par to triple bogey on hole number 1.
Here we are on hole 2, a 150-meter par 4. This initial shot is a straight to potentially leftwards fading shot, although you don't particularly need to go left. All you need to do is to position yourself at the mouth of the entrance into the tree line. Something between the bushes in the bottom of the frame and the beginning of the tree line is ideal. If you can work your way up the hill, that's just a bonus, but you'll be left with a second straight shot directly upwards, probably only around 50, maximum 60 meters in distance, playing a touch more given the slope, but really it's much more of a placement shot than any sort of power shot. Compared to hole 1, a very different feeling. This first requires accuracy and placement. Sonja looking for that fade just in time, and she finds it. An ideal, although safe shot. That should be enough to have a birdie look.
Perfect distance control. That's what you like to see on this hole. It's pretty rough if you're short or long of the gap. You still usually have some sort of a chance for the green. But being right there where Sonja is, that's going to be perfect. And Anniken playing a little bit different with a lefty. I'd say this is not the easiest drive with the lefty, especially with the left-to-right tailwind. Hard to control the angle.
In round 1, we saw Kristin try to get aggressive up the hill, even on the first, so she throws much higher and much harder than is, let's say, necessary to play for the birdie, and she's done it again here. Filters back to a familiar spot for most of the field, though, and we'll be looking at a nice, clean look up the hill. We go now to Julia. Tough start. We'll see if she's able to compose herself and bounce back a little bit here on hole 2.
Looks like she can. The drive is looking really nice. Just needs to get a little bit extra distance there. And that's going to be very nice. Maybe a little bit tight for a backhand approach, but it's going to be interesting to see whether she goes for a forehand Anheuser or that tighter backhand Heiser line. I'd say it's definitely a hole where you want to be running the basket on the second shot.
There's no real downside to doing so. So you want to fire high of the pin, you want to go long of it. Anniken with a slightly pinched angle hits one of the late guardians, but is still within the circle for her birdie putt. And that was the worst look of the 4 available. So I expect to see some more aggressive lines here. You really can just do as much as you would like to try and go long. Sonja with a misrelease from the standstill backhand. That's going to be a little bit frustrating on one of the holes that you want to get an early birdie on to kick your round off here on 2. We go now to Julia, going to be shaping the inside Heiser. I love the height, I love the pace. The width just a little bit unforgiving.
Yeah, very aggressive run. Exactly what you want to do here. And Kristin also leaving it just the tiniest of bits short of the basket. Beautiful shot there. Caddied by Lätt, of course. Also playing in the tournament, playing quite solid actually.
Silver probably saying there, come on, why didn't you actually run it? You know, only parked. Might as well go for the 2. No, she did well. We go now to Sonja for the par putt. Healthy.
Well done there. Definitely a hole you don't want to take a bogey on, as it's the 5th easiest hole on the course. Averaging just above par still. It's definitely, as far as courses go, it's definitely on the more difficult side. Anything under par is going to be good, especially in today's windy conditions.
No doubt the FPO field had quite a lot of rain yesterday. They'll be dealing with quite a lot of wind today. And we'll see what they're left with on the 3rd and final. But just like that, we have the birdies from Anniken and Kristin.
Moving on to hole number 3, playing as a par 4 downhill 163 meters. And it's going to be a pretty big choice off the tee, as you have the short side inbounds, which I believe our players are likely not going to be aiming for, but rather going for the further island. It's a huge island. Doesn't feel like an island, but the only way that the island rule comes into play is if you go OB off the tee, you have to go to a drop zone about 80 meters away. I expect to see a lot of drivers thrown downwards towards the second landing zone, hopefully missing the trees in between and getting at least 100 meters of distance.
Anniken, a quick swap of the disc on the tee, perhaps reading the wind a little bit and opting for stability as we see that one angle shape. And that's really all you need to position yourself for birdie from there. She'll be looking uphill about 40 to 50 meters. Kristin playing the hyzer to the right gap. She's had really smooth control and power so far this weekend. And you can see for her, she could even consider going for the Eagle 2 with a really optimal drive, but that is more than enough for a stress-free 3. Crazy.
Yeah, the wind was blowing from right to left on this one. Just incredibly difficult to know what it's going to do. If you throw that understable driver on a hyzer, like Sonja did, it's going to lift it up first, but when the disc turns to an hyzer, the disc is going to push it, or the wind is going to push it down.
Same for Julia. She'll be having a little bit longer of a second shot up into the green, but I think fairly unobstructed, just a few small bushes she can easily navigate over. This uphill shot, you need to control your speed, your height, but it's also exposed significantly to the wind out in this field. Anniken does well there with a overstable flight to just catch that late fade, pushing one angle shot.
Good management of the wind. Let's see, so Julia's gonna be going for a backhand hyzer here. So let's see if the wind actually lifts her up. Yeah, definitely did. The disc not wanting to slow down, even with the uphill slope. She's gonna have a makeable but tricky putt. A putt that is definitely more difficult than the average 8-meter putt.
Sonja finding a touch of early stability, but just drops out of the sky there in time to keep her close.
And as you mentioned, Heidi Laine, the older of the Laine sisters, having suffered an unfortunate knee injury earlier in the season. She's in the recovery phase now, so just supporting her sister here, not playing herself yet.
Kristin close enough to just give that short shot up to the green. We see Julia putting against the wind. Fading out to the left, she'll have enough distance remaining for a little bit of a stressful comeback here. We see her composure here, and again, just that right to left on the second putt, left to right on the first putt. It was really difficult to gauge, super gusty. The direction was sometimes consistent, but it would come and go in a matter of seconds. I, on the practice screen, had 4 putts that had 4 different wind reactions. It was that sort of day here on day 2.
And as usual, the wind looks much calmer on camera than what you feel on the green. Good composure for Julia on the last putt. It looks like everybody else is going to be tapping in for their birdies. Overall good play here on hole number 3. Definitely a hole you want to birdie, with 40% of the field getting the birdie 3 on this one.
Upgrade your disc golf setup this season. Discraft's fresh lineup of grip EQ bags and the all-new Zuka cart give you unbeatable comfort, style, and standout performance. Make this season one to remember at discraft.com.
We move on to hole 4, a 200-meter par 4, one of the more treacherous holes, particularly early. You have this straight downhill shot that you really need to try and land soft anywhere past this bush. You want to land flat on the grass as the fairway then bends 90 degrees to the left. You throw over this river of OB into this late gap, welcoming you to a sloped right to left green with OB long. There's just so many elements to this hole that you need to navigate correctly. That par is a very good score. We see it averaging 4.89. Certainly treacherous. The 3 is amazing. The 4 is good. Anniken's left-handed throw here will fade away from the OB. The only mistake on the drive is to go to the left OB, and that flipped very quickly. Believe somehow remaining in bounds, perhaps a cut roll on that Anheuser angle. You can go as far right as you want, although it makes your second shot much harder, but as a result you'll see a lot of players do exactly what Kristin did, fully straight to rightwards shaping shot.
I like the play there, just going downwards instead of having your disc up high in the air and challenging the wind. See, that's gonna be the problem with Sonja's shot. Really difficult angle control if you put it that high up in the air. And she actually ends up in a good position there. From the drop zone, I believe it's about 109 meters to the green or to the basket, so she's gonna have 110.
Nicely done from Julia, perhaps a little bit shy of the sweet spot. She might be pinched on that bush guardian. Anniken just going to be laying up to a spot to cross over. I think that bush saved her disc from going out of bounds. We'll see what she's left with in terms of numbers afterwards. Kristin, more to the right of the fairway, has quite a lot of distance to cover, so ideally you throw a disc longer than you need. Crashing that tree line, although it might look bad, is fairly forgiving. You can normally stab a putter out of the back just up to the basket.
Should be easy par from there. Let's see Sonja going for not really the straight gap, rather the right side. Playing it safe out there to the right. There's no problem with that shot, although her angle is going to be tricky for the 3rd. So not the easiest approach coming up for par. And this line I really like from Julia, just wide. Trying to either crash the trees or fade in front of them, and should have a good chance for par as well.
Anniken playing the forehand to end to the left. She's looking to just get it inbounds and looking towards the basket. She's done well to do that. We go now to Sonja. Fun fact about Sonja Laine, I believe she had the hottest round of the tournament at last year's 2024 Ale Open. And she chips herself up into the green, having an uphill look. This green can provide some dangers in the sense that there's OB long, there's the slope that can give a roll away.
Yeah, good stats there. Seems like the course is very fitting for the medical student that Sonja Laine is, apart from being a disc golfer. We saw Julia in the circle. Anniken also just outside the bullseye there. This is what you were talking about the right side trees. There is a great big sizable gap on that right side bushy forest part, which you can almost always just pitch out from.
Off the cage for Sonja and the roll away. She'll be left with a very similar putt as she just had. We'll see if she can make the adjustment. We see the wind moving some things, but it's not the most windy green. And you see that one just a touch shy. Didn't quite have the commitment to the height required. Honestly, maybe it could have just been a layup. Yeah, I'm surprised from that range for Julia. Although she's simply managing her score, I think that was a putt that she could make more often than she would miss, but I understand on this green the desire to take a tap in over a risky putt that could multiply the strokes gained.
Absolutely, especially since she already had a few putting struggles on the previous hole. It's potentially, in that situation when you're lacking confidence, it's always nice to just lay up and play your game plan accordingly, rather than trying for something difficult and potentially failing. Where on hole number 5, 92 meters, it's gonna be a straight shot, one of the more birdieable holes on the course. The gap is quite wide, although there is a gap to hit, it is quite wide. Bit of a low ceiling as well at the end of the shot. Best shot here is usually going to be a straight to slightly right turning shot, either a slight turnover backhand or a straight to fading forehand. The hillside tends to help you stay a little bit on the left side, even if you fade or turn to the right, you're usually in the circle.
Kristin getting a flat release, slow drifting Anheuser. You can play a little bit off the hillside if needed, but she simply slides on up to the flat. Well done. Really pure through the trees. And for Anniken's left-handed shot, she may bring that hill to the right more into play, because going on the pure hyzer, you have to bring that exact tree line in, but she's catching one of the last ones there. That is also certainly a manageable birdie putt. Julia has had a tough stretch. We'll see if she can bounce back on a birdieable par 3 here.
And a lovely branch hit there. Her shot was not far off and it was the correct side to miss on. If you want to miss on this hole, you definitely want to miss on the right side compared to the left. Julia getting the reward for that solid shot, as Sonja powerful release, a little bit high in the branches, challenging that low ceiling, but no problem. Just outside the bullseye there.
And we go to Anniken, up first to secure the birdie look. You see her go towards that step putt, being just outside the circle, around 12 meters. And wide of the chains. Julia will take a stab at it next. This is longer than the putt she just laid up, but with a much safer green, she's comfortable to give it a chance, and unfortunately off the band. Difficult to say if that was the wind or the release. Kristin putting laterally back at the basket now.
A couple of surprising misses there, especially Kristin there. Just 7 meters, 6 meters for the birdie. And Anniken on a green that is almost completely protected from the wind. Lead card struggling a little bit after their great drives. It's a hole that you definitely want to birdie, as it's the easiest, number one easiest hole on the course. 29% birdies and way less bogeys than birdies on this one. You're not really losing many strokes with a par, but you're definitely losing strokes to the best players who might be chasing you from behind.
Birdies don't always come easy on the Ale White layout. This one is particularly gettable, it feels like, as you said, well protected from the wind. They will go on to hole 6. Another gettable birdie, although it requires great angle and speed control. This 103-meter downhill par 3 island hole has a very fast green, but plays closer to probably 70 meters in distance. What you want most often is a putter landing flat, short of the basket. I think anything else that lands at the pin high or finds any significant fade, skip, is often what will get you into the most trouble. If you miss the island, there is a drop zone from about 16 meters off to the right. Sonja up first. She's going to display some control here, opting for the standstill, reducing the variables in the throw. She has this turned over, and I think, unless it's a very overstable disc, it is simply not the flight you're looking for. She will proceed to drop zone.
Kristin with the forehand. I think if you have this slow disc forehand, it's definitely the play on this hole. And let's see, she's a little bit inside, needs to get up over the log. That's not gonna be it. She's also going to the drop zone. It's a huge difference between just making the island and going to the drop zone, because from the drop zone, while it's technically a makeable putt, it's very difficult to do, especially in slight wind.
Julia finds herself on the island, bouncing back off the log. Anniken with a net par result for the round so far. So far, 2 birdies and 2 bogeys. This is coming in quite hot on edge, and really nice to see that sit down cleanly. A lot of those similar looking flights will get a big skip towards that water. Sonja up first.
Sonja with a lot of left arm action in the putt. I think a very unique style that we don't see that often. And Kristin giving it a soft bid. A respectable one at that, but she's gonna be settling for the bogey here, kicking her score back at even par for the round.
And Julia running that. That's a dangerous putt. No more than 5-6 meters behind the basket. It drops off towards OB. Given the distance that she had there, still opts to run it, and just a little bit shy on the height. We go to Anniken.
There you go, very good birdie there, getting a stroke on the entire card or 2. Only 14% of the field birding this one, and the scoring average 3.54, so definitely not an easy hole. And I believe that is simply because if you miss the island, the drop zone putt is so rarely made that you almost always get that bogey.
OTB is very specific on how they list the disc because they want you to like the disc.
Virtually in your hand tells you what the disc is going to feel like, how heavy it's going to be. It's everything you want to know before it shows up to your house.
Not just marketing.
It's only the best.
Advancing to the first par 5 of the round, 234 meters. Downhill of the tee. Mostly gonna be about angle control of the tee shot. You don't want to turn it to the OB right, but also don't try to fade too far left to challenge the OB on the left side. It's a wide fairway, so you have some space to maneuver. Second shot is gonna be hopefully a big hyzer around the corner, and the best of second shots are gonna be set you up with a straight third shot to the pin, no more than 60 or even 50 meters of distance left. But that's easier said than done to have 2 perfect shots on this windy fairway, even though it's quite wide.
Definitely, I'd say any reasonable shot inbounds on the first leaves you in play for birdie. A lot of players will go for something overstable and low. Anniken, not much distance there. I would say birdie is potentially still in play, but she will need an incredible second and third shot. Julia looking to get a little bit more distance and go under or between those trees. Playing that hyzer flip up to flat. Very nice control, and that's the ideal tee shot. I'm curious to see what Kristin will do. We go to Sonja first, however.
She just saw the perfect example of a drive there from Julia. Let's see if she can follow. Good angle, pretty high out of the hand though. So this is scaring the OB left potentially. And just enough distance where she gets further than where the OB is going to be a little bit tighter on that left side. Good position, while on the left side she's going to have a tighter angle. Let's see Kristin here.
I mentioned the curiosity to see her approach because in round 1 she threw over the trees, whereas all of the other competitors threw under them. It looked like she had tried something similar again, although the wind not permitting. Anniken with some tight gaps to hit. And not completely punished. She's very close to that OB right, but I think did manage to sit down in time, although it will be a very difficult par save now. She has another tight gap to hit, an awkward swing off the tree. She's going to want to see this move to the right, left from this catch cam angle. And that is probably not ideal in terms of opening up the angle into the green. A lot of work left for Anniken. We go to Kristin now. I expect to see a very, very straight shot that moves only slightly left.
And well done there, while a little bit unlucky with the end result. She got the distance straight far enough before moving left, where I think it would be expected to be in a good spot. That's what often happens on this hole, as you're sort of aiming far off the fairway. You're not necessarily trying to end in the middle of the fairway, but rather on the far side. Even in the far side woods is okay, just like Julia has done there. This is only to open up the angle. Of course, you'd rather be on the fairway for the run-up, but if you're a little bit too far, the angle to the green is much better.
Center cut for Sonja. That will give her a open, straight to softly hyzer look into the green. Anniken, much more pinched. She's going to go to this forehand, and I think best case scenario from this angle, she's getting to circle 2.
A little long there. Might be tricky to get up and down for what I believe to be a potential bogey. As Julia just pitches up on the fairway. And Kristin here gonna try to show some great angle control. Not quite what she ordered there. Gonna be a par.
Sonja with a pitter-patter on the left side. That whole tree line is OB, and I believe she landed within it. Unfortunate outcome. Julia here just erring to the right side on that shot. Looking back at the basket, she's up there in the circle, I believe, for her par putt. This is super tricky for Sonja. May have even connected her hand on the tree. You heard an audible crack. Very uncomfortable, but she's getting herself to the green. Anniken with a smooth delivery.
Yeah, well done there. To me, it seems like Anniken's forehand is working pretty well today. I haven't seen a bad forehand from her yet. Good one on 1, couple of good ones here on 7. And Kristin there just getting up and down for the par. It's not going to be a bad result on the hole. Still averaging 0.31 strokes above par for the field. And Julia, look at that putt. I think she has got her confidence back after the mishap on hole number 3.
No doubt that was smooth. Still yet to find her first birdie, but she'll get there. Anniken in for the bogey, had the early difficulties, but once she got to that tunnel of the green, was able to seal the deal. Kristin in for the par there, no damage done.
Very closed off green here. Still slightly windy, but a great look at the gallery that we had here for the FPO lead card on round 2. A lot of enthusiastic Swedish disc golfers showing up.
As always, in Sweden, we see here hole 8, a 100 meter par 3 over the pond. That pond does not really come into play, but does delineate the OB that runs along the pond and right side of the fairway. Players are going to want to hit this gap. This tree in the right of your frame is a great aiming point for the right-handed backhand shot, that then hopefully skips on up. I saw a cool ace on this hole today from my card. We'll keep that for MPO coverage. We go now to Julia.
Powerful looking shot, very clean release. And she's gonna be up there, I believe, on the shelf, a little bit right side there. Potentially a C2 look.
Exactly as mentioned, Heiser flipped to that tree, fading before it. Kristin executed the same shot in round 1, exactly as she's done there. Both of them perfectly done. Anniken here going to need to shape something a little bit more, not particularly lefty-friendly.
This is looking short right, and yeah, that's one of the toughest spots you can find on the hole. She's gonna be about 5, 6, 7 meters below the basket, looking straight up. I can guarantee you she can't see the pin from there, just having to approximate where it might be.
Sonja smooth finds the fade a little bit early, but she's up there. She has an open look. Crowd management in effect. Anniken with that pitch out forehand. Saw her throw that disc a lot on the chain reaction episode here at the Ally Open. She's given herself a long putt for par. And I think just laid up from there. She accepts the bogey. We go now to Julia, who I expect to run this with her newfound confidence.
And confidence was not lacking on that putt, rather the line. Let's see Sonja there, trying to get one back from the last double bogey on the last hole. And Kristin, I think, from what I've analyzed so far in the round, I think she has a slight distance advantage on the card, and on this hole you could definitely see that. She was able to throw a flat to Heiser shot with a stable driver compared to trying to glide it up there, even to reach the pin.
It seems that Kristin this year has a little bit more power than ever from what we've seen. Both backhand and forehands are looking very smooth. And as you said, often able to outdrive her competition. That comes with the territory of being the highest rated FPO player in the world. There's a reason she's gotten there and is currently maintaining that position, as well as the lead here at -6. Tell us about hole 9, Elias.
Hole 9, gonna be a very satisfying shot to hit. We're going downhill, 112 meters, but playing shorter. I'd say this hole is probably playing closer to 95 or 100, as we're going over a valley and back up in just the last 15 meters of the hole. The shot shape is mostly gonna be just straight. If you want to turn left or right, you would rather bend a little bit to the right, as the low-hanging branches are more prominent on the right side of the fairway, so that left to right shape is gonna be ideal. Let's see, a lot of this hole is gonna be about the angle control of these players.
And the turn of the disc, as well as the wind, absolutely smashing Kristin's line down to the ground. What is cool about this hole is that coming up early is quite a common result, but that back sloped green allows you to give it a full run if you would like to. There's very little danger in being aggressive on the second shot if you need to be. Julia with a nice adjustment there. Also still a little bit shy of having a short putt. Quite a long one up the hill. We go now to Sonja. Perhaps has a little bit more of a read on the wind, but this is very high and very right side. Looked like a late release from the swing and has remained in bounds. Quite fortunate, I think, a common result from that sort of throw. I spoke too soon. The spotter gets a closer look and gives the red flag. That is what you would expect to see from a shot like that, so unsurprising. Unfortunate. Anniken here with a nice Heiser flip to late fading shot into the hill. And she'll be left, I believe, closest of the bunch, but still not a particularly easy putt. We'll see Sonja from the drop zone.
Drop zone still ways out, about 75 meters here to go. And similar mistake where she pulls it to the right, challenging the right side branches. Definitely not the line she was going for. And that late right release is something that she will definitely have to fix on the back nine as we're moving on to some more wooded holes on the back. That's going to be a good approach from there though, hopefully limiting the damage to a double bogey.
Not choosing to get aggressive there. Kristin plays the soft flex to the left side. Anniken as well, opting for the simple par. We see Julia doing the same. A little bit surprised to see no bids up the hill, given how little danger there is, but a trickle through for Sonja and an important stick there. She takes the double bogey here on 9.
Yeah, good putt there to end the bleeding on this one. And yeah, I very much agree, very passive play from the card, as really the only risk with running the basket is if you happen to hit the cage or the band in the wrong way, especially on a hyzer angle. But if you put your run on more of an anhyzer angle, you're very rarely rolling down, and the backstop is gonna slow you down. These players are on lead card for a reason, and we're not here to criticize them, as the front nine is gonna be done. Kristin with quite the commanding lead over this card, but also over the field. We see a couple of Finnish players, Silva Saarinen and Ida Lehtomäki, making a move on further cards.
And you can see the ups and downs of these scorecards, colors galore. This is an exciting tournament that will create separation throughout the field, particularly in this windy weather. We appreciate you joining us here for this round 2 action. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We passed 50K subs on YouTube just recently, and your support is much appreciated from everyone here on the MDG team. Make sure to join us on the back nine. Elias and I will see you there.